if the authorities didn't want us involved in the public square, they ought not to have crucified Jesus in the public square.
Use humanistic principles.
Well, I would say,
same
Dan,
idea.
I would say
same
that.
end.
I would say, what's the problem with Stardust bumping into Stardust?
In the cosmic picture, no, there's no problem. In the cosmic picture, it won't matter.
No, Mr. President, you are not protecting reproductive freedom. You are authorizing the destruction of freedom for 1 million little human beings every year.
I'm sorry, my friends, but I am tired of seeing Jesus presented as a weak beggar. He is a powerful Savior, and the gospel is not a suggestion, it is a command.
Reverend Mola, don't you sympathize with that?
I sympathize with every single human heart wishing to know the one true and living God, but I believe there's only one way that can happen, through Jesus Christ, and the gospel is about repenting of sin, not celebrating it.
Right now, you're on the threshold of an amazing adventure. We will explore the spiritual abyss. You have not experienced this before. You're gonna love it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Apologia Radio. Welcome back, everybody across them internets. I'm Jeff, they call me the Ninja. That's Luke the Bear right there.
What up?
This is the gospel heard around the world. We're so glad you guys joined us. Very exciting week, everybody, ahead of us. Man, some stuff's about to go down.
Yeah. I'm nervous.
We're going to talk about it today, a little bit of it. So, apologiastudios.com is where you all will go to get more content. APOLOGIA Studios.com. Go there to get all the past episodes. You get hundreds of radio shows, podcast episodes. You also get access there to all of our podcasts and programs we have. We have Provoked with Pastor Zach and Desi. You've got Sheologians with Joy and Summer. You've got Cultish with Jeremiah Roberts and Andrew Sonkrant, and of course you have Apologia Radio. You have in all access, you not only partner with us in our ministry, but you also get access to the TV shows, the after show, Apologia Academy. All that stuff is there to bless all of our partners with us in ministry, and of course be in prayer for what's happening right now with Bonson U. We actually are having a meeting today that's going to include everything that needs to happen to get that up and running for everybody. So if you guys haven't heard yet, Bonson U is coming, and that's going to be over 1,700 lectures, seminary courses. I mean, I'm talking, listen, if you want to get equipped and training on a personal level, if you are a person that's training for ministry, there isn't anything like it, and it's going to be absolutely free. Bible studies, family studies, everything you guys can imagine is there. From church history. Whoa, what is that? There you go. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Loud.
Yeah, it was very loud.
So, now.
Oh, that's my son.
Yeah.
My son. Oh, goodness gracious, Stellar. Okay, sorry. I had pulled up my page. Okay, there you go. Okay, I had pulled up my page so I could show you guys a really funny little video, and there you go. I left my Facebook up, and that's where was I? Okay, sorry about that. Bonson U. So you're going to have church history, theology, apologetics, working through books of the Bible. Hey, check it out. Yesterday, I was looking through the drive yesterday. All of Bonson's teaching through the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation, the whole thing.
Wow.
Book of Revelation, Greg Bonson through the book of Revelation. I mean, it's all there. So if I'm telling you guys, this is unprecedented. It is amazing. This stuff used to be hidden behind CMF Now. You had to pay for it. It was worth it. It's worth its weight in gold. I mean, honestly, even the process of paying for it through CMF, as challenging as that could be, it was worth it. My goodness, this whole thing, this treasury, is it's priceless. It is truly priceless. It's going to be available at apologiastudios.com. You're going to click on Bonson U, set up an account. You're going to have access to all of this completely for free thanks to the Bonson family. So we're grateful, and it's underway right now. What we're going to be doing, as everyone knows what that's going to look like, you're going to have stuff at Apologia Studios that's not going to be anywhere else. We're going to have the video stuff no one's ever seen before. Right now, we're going to be working on essentially improving the audio, mastering the audio, making it sound great. We're also going to be working on putting into high definition all the videos, correcting the color, all that stuff. So
digitizing 8mm tapes.
Digitizing 8mm tapes that no one's ever seen before. So lots is happening, and it's all in the background now. So just pray for us, and that's going to be underway. But you guys can partner with us right now in ministry. All this is sort of it's all-encompassing, right? I mean, Bonson U is its own thing, but it's all happening at Apologia Studios, Apologia staff. You can partner with us in ministry by becoming all access and doing it right now. ApologiaStudios.com is where you guys go to get all the additional content and partner with us in ministry. If you've seen debates online, somebody you love, a brother or sister in Christ, paid for that. And if you see teaching online, if you see on the street evangelism, we have brothers and sisters in Christ that we're so grateful for that have been partnering with us for years in this ministry, making everything we do possible. So you can do that right now with us at apologiastudios.com. We're going to go right into today. We have lots to talk about. First, I guess I thought this would be cool as an encouraging highlight. This is obviously all of us were shocked when we heard about Kanye's newfound profession of faith. Many of you guys saw the radio program that we did, Apologia Radio program with Adam, the man who's been mentoring and sort of being a pastor to Kanye. And that was a really encouraging interview to hear just Adam's consistency and his faithfulness in making sure that Kanye gets the truth. Now, I think all of us, of course, have questions, and I'm so glad that my conversion to Christ wasn't a public thing, and there's no history of all of that. I'm grateful to God. But I have to say, I think we're all encouraged to see what Kanye said on Joe Rogan's recent podcast. Kanye was with him for almost 3 hours. I love listening to Joe Rogan, and I'd love to be on with him. I'd love to talk to him. I think it'd be a really beneficial thing for everybody. But Kanye was on with him, and some of you guys may have seen this, may not have seen this. This is Kanye. About 23 minutes in, he starts discussing expository preaching. Kanye West talking about expository preaching. I mean, here's the thing. If you would have told people in 2015 that the whole world would be shut down, everyone's wearing face diapers, and Kanye would be telling the glories of expository preaching, you'd be like, just stop it.
It's 2020, anything can happen.
Stop it. It's not even funny. Here we go. This is Kanye talking about Adam and his expository preaching.
And one of my pastors, Pastor Adam, who is the way he preaches is called expository. It's like one-to-one by the word. I like all different kind of preachers, but there's some type of preachers, they get up, they have the Bible in their hand, then they close the Bible, and then they just talk for 2 hours. And some do have anointing, but the expository preachers go line for line. And for me, it's like I come from entertainment. I got so much sauce. I don't need no sauce on the word. I need the word to be solid food that I can understand exactly what God was saying to me through the King James Version, through this, through this translation or the English Standard Version. So Pastor Adams was coming by my spot. I got this 300-acre spot. And,
look, that's great, okay? We all need to acknowledge that is really, really great. I especially love what Kanye said there about sauce.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody describe it like that. We're always like, because we say that all the time. We're like, this is just mere entertainment. This isn't going to feed people.
Right.
And I like what Kanye said. He says, no sauce on it. I like that. I'm going to use that from now on. People putting sauce on the word. Just give me the word. Don't give me the sauce. So, look, I think we all need to be grateful for that. Everyone needs to continue to pray for Kanye and just be thankful for the very, very God-glorifying things that are coming out of his mouth. Yeah. Pray for his walk with Jesus. Pray for his family. Pray for his life. And pray for his testimony as he professes faith in Jesus Christ. I think all of us need to always be hopeful. Always be hopeful assume the innocence. God's law commands of us, assume the innocence of a person until you're proven otherwise.
Right.
Everybody is to be assumed innocent. Praise God for the Christian worldview and that standard of justice that made its way into the American system and to other systems in the West. The assumption of innocence until there is multiple independent lines of witness and evidence to prove somebody guilty of something. And so what we need to always be doing is be very hopeful, be prayerful for Kanye and his family. That's a good thing. I think we can all grant that's a very good thing to have Kanye West extolling the glories of expository preaching.
Is he still running for president? I haven't heard anything in a while.
You know, I think that he actually is technically. What is that considered a write-in candidate? Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I haven't been keeping up with too much of it. But I think all of us need to be very hopeful and grateful for the fact that Kanye has been talking about abortion as murder, and he's been talking about the wickedness of Margaret Sanger. We know he's been reading Killer Angel by our friend Dr. George Grant, and so that's a really good thing. And so just be in prayer, because when you have the kind of platform he does have, you can have an impact through the things that you say. So that's a hopeful thing for us to see Kanye West talking about abortion as murder and wanting to end it.
Absolutely.
That's great. We all need to be thankful and be praising God for that. So ready to jump right into today. So we're going to do a little bit of a shorter broadcast today, but we're going to talk about current event stuff. First thing I wanted to talk about is the challenge of free speech that all of us have. Did we ever tell everybody what we had endured with Ireland and what happened with our videos getting shut down? I'm not sure if we actually did.
I don't know if we did or not.
So Luke and I have over the last couple of years been given the grace. Well, we're Apologia, but early on it was me going out there as a keynote speaker for a very solid Presbyterian denomination in Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and in Scotland. I went out there just to go out and preach and teach, and the issue of abortion came up as I was traveling the country. And at the time, abortion was still criminal in the North and in the South. And God allowed us graciously to get into that country and with those churches to help them to try to fight against it being legalized. Right. It was legalized by vote in the Republic, and it was forced upon them in the North recently. So we are working with some amazing believers in Ireland that are just so my favorite Christians in the world. I truly love them. And one of the things that happened to us is we were trying to help them to put out content and let everyone know this is what's going on. Here's how to speak against it. And it was a really strange thing because this happened at the time, Luke, where we could put up a live stream or a video and we would crack 100,000 live views in a couple of hours without breaking a sweat. It was normal to just be able to do a live stream and get 100,000 views, like no problem. And then all of a sudden, of course, with all the algorithm changes and them suppressing content, conservative content, Christian content, that's dramatically changed over the last couple of years. But the weird thing for us was we invested in going to help the church out there. We come back, we put together this very short documentary thing to help the church out there to fight against the issue of abortion. And weird thing, we put this thing up and like crickets, and it's like, what's weird? I'm putting it on Facebook, I'm putting it on YouTube, and it's not cracking 2,000 views. I'm like, what is going on? And we're like days and days and days, and it won't even get above 2,000 views. I'm like, what's going on? So we have money to help more people see the stuff that we're doing so it impacts the most people. And so we decided to put some money into it to say, okay, well, we'll use the marketing stuff where you're promised a certain amount of views generally. Like this, if you pay this amount of money, you're going to be able to let 100,000 people get impacted by this video. And so we'll do this amount of money, make sure that people see this, especially target it in Ireland and all the rest. And next thing you know, nothing. It's like barely cracking 3,000 views. And the crazy thing is you pay for it. You're giving money to the company.
Taking our money.
And they're telling you, we're going to make sure that everyone sees this video for this amount of money. And we're like, good, we need Ireland to see this. The church needs to rally. We need to save lives. So we put money into it. And we're like, it needs to be seen by 100,000 people. And we're like, why won't it crack 5,000 views? What's going on? Come to find out, after Google had the leak where an employee basically showed that they were suppressing content and using algorithm to suppress Christian, pro-life, conservative content, what happened is that leak was made known to the public. We went into the leak, and sure enough, you better believe it, all the words we were using to make sure people understood what was going on with the Eighth Amendment, Save the Eighth, all that stuff. That was part of the algorithm. So the reason why our content was not being seen is because it was literally being suppressed by these platforms. They were stopping people from seeing it. And the craziest thing was that they stole our money. They stole our money. They took our money saying, we'll make sure everyone sees this. But they already had an algorithm working in the background that killed the content. We've also recently learned that on Facebook, people were searching for Apologia Studios, and Facebook gave a warning to someone who was searching for Apologia Studios that it was warning them about that Apologia Studios may be associated with a dangerous conspiracy theory group called QAnon. Now, just so you know, we're not Q. We're not with QAnon. I'm very troubled as a minister of the gospel and someone who believes in God's standards of justice with the speculative theories that go out and the allegations that go out against people. Look, here's the thing. Look, I'm going to say this to anybody here who has sympathies towards Q and QAnon. Can I just please say this? When you have people associated with Q and QAnon calling people pedophiles publicly and accusing them of drinking the blood of children and raping children, and all you have is speculation, no hard evidence, you are wicked for putting that out in the public square. Can you imagine if somebody accused you of being a pedophile and saying that you rape children and drink their blood for the adrenochrome, and they started putting it out in mass on the internet? Can you imagine how you would feel, how your family would feel if it wasn't true? But yet somehow people think that they should be able to put these things out. Now, here's the deal. If it's proven and there's independent lines of witness and testimony according to God's standards, okay. But when you're talking about speculative theories, making accusations against people, it is pure wickedness, and God hates it. Slander, gossip, and false allegations, God hates. How much does he hate it? Well, can I tell you that in the law of God, the way that God protects the judicial system is that one of the laws is that if I make an accusation against Luke and I say, hey, Luke murdered this guy, I saw it happen. Now we go into court, Christian court gets cross-examination because God's law demands that. So thank God for the Christian system of ethics and judicial system that gives us cross-examination and all the rest, the assumption of innocence. But I accuse Luke in God's law. I get cross-examined in court. If it's discovered in court that I have lied about Luke murdering somebody or whatever the case may be, God's law says that the false witness in court that made the accusation now has to endure the penalty that Luke would have gotten had he been proven guilty under false premises. So God's court system protects people even against false allegations, and it tells people, you want to accuse somebody of rape? You better not be lying, because the penalty for rape is death. And so if you accuse this guy of rape and it ain't true, then you die. That's how God protects it. Because what were you trying to do? Watch. A false allegation of murder or rape in God's court means this. Watch. What would have happened to Luke if I accused him of murder and he was actually found guilty? He would die. So if I'm lying about Luke in order to get him to die, that's attempted murder. I'm trying to murder Luke. And so what God's system does is it protects people from false allegations. All this to say,
that would end the whole Me Too movement.
In many ways, So here's the deal: the whole issue with Q and QAnon, our concern, and we've never ever come out and said that we support this movement, that we're behind it. We have very serious concerns. But guess what? Facebook is telling people who search for Apologia Studios that we may be associated with QAnon, a dangerous, far-right conspiracy theorist movement. We saw it, and we were like, what the heck?
You haven't even posted anything.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
How can you accuse us? But it's one of the ways that these platforms are killing Christian content and conservative voices. And here's the challenge, and Luke and I have had these conversations before. Here's the challenge. Look, we believe in private property. Why? Because God's law demands that you respect people's property, even to the degree that God has laws against moving the boundary marker on a neighbor's property. You don't move it because it's wicked. That's their stuff. God is huge on private property. And how do you know for sure? It's in the Ten Commandments. You shall not steal. You shall not steal comes with the assumption, the presupposition, that stuff belongs to them that does not belong to you. God's given it to them. So we're big on private property and businesses being able to run their business the way they want. all the rest. Okay, so we're there. So technically speaking, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these platforms, they're their own company. This is their property. Technically, they can do what they want. I understand that. But here's the thing. Is it wise business practice to be an idiot? Is it wise business practice to be a fool, to create a platform that says it's a platform where people can exchange ideas, and then you control all of the ideas, right? Or you try to manipulate elections through your platform, which is dominant. There's two things working there. One, don't be an idiot. Hashtag don't be an idiot. But run a good business. And number two, private property matters, and so technically you do what you want. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by this. So is it possible in America for somebody to sell pornographic literature in their business, say on the magazine rack? Yeah, that's possible. But you're an idiot if you sell pornographic literature at Cold Stone. Right? Is it possible to do it? Yeah, but you're kind of ignorant. You're dumb. Don't do that. Why? Because the community should be able to say, with any business that's running amok, they should be able to say community-wise, we're not going to patronize your business. We're not going to give you our money. We're not going to have anything to do with you because what you're doing is immoral, wicked, or foolish. So we're not going to serve. We're not going to do it. If you serve really bad steaks at a steakhouse, people aren't going to come. If you have bad customer service, people aren't going to come. So what do people always say when they open businesses? You got to serve the customer. You got to have a great product. You got to have great service, and you got to think about the needs of the customer because they're the customer and they matter, and you want to make money. And so when you look at like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram doing things that are absolutely downright foolish and stifling Christian voices, well, it means that you're a fool when it comes to running a business. Just don't do it. Is it your property? Sure it is. Can you do what you want with the property? Look, I believe that somebody should be able to buy a house and burn the whole sucker down 5 minutes after they purchase it. Right? Is that wise? Nope. But guess what? I ain't got nothing to say about it. Why? Because it wasn't my money. It belonged to you. I should be able to buy a bicycle from Target, go to my house, and just bash it with a sledgehammer. People might say, that's kind of dumb. It is dumb. It's completely foolish, but it's my property. You can do what you want. But you know what? Not everything is a wise move.
Right.
And so when you think about what happened this last week with Twitter, Twitter killed a New York Post article with Hunter Biden.
Wow.
So did you know the history of what happened?
I didn't
so what happened, New York Post is fourth largest circulating publication in the U.S. So they're not like a Johnny-come-lately. They're not like, Dan Q and his new website, giving these conspiracy theories or whatever it is. This is the New York Post. It was started actually by somebody very famous. I forget what his name was. Over 100 years ago, I believe. But anyway, they posted with documentation and evidence where they had gotten the information from on Hunter Biden, and Twitter killed it.
Wow.
Killed it, and they actually blocked the New York Post, the fourth largest circulating thing, from being able to post more.
And the New York Post is super liberal too, so.
And I've seen some good articles from them though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some. I'm like,
Yeah.
that was at least good journalism.
Yeah.
So, New York Post can't post because they do the Hunter Biden thing, and Twitter basically kills it to the degree that you can't even share. No one can get it from anywhere, and you can't put it on Twitter. Like they're literally blocking the whole story. And so anyway, so the Congress calls the head of Twitter in, like, we're going to talk to you about this. And so this is the exchange between Senator Ted Cruz and Mr. Dorsey, who looks like he works as a barista in a Seattle coffee shop.
It was Alexander Hamilton, by the way.
Alexander Hamilton. Yes, that's right.
Egregious. Mr. Dorsey, does Twitter have the ability to influence elections?
No.
You don't believe Twitter has any ability to influence elections?
No, we are one part of a broad spectrum of communication channels that people have.
So you're testifying to this committee right now that Twitter, when it silences people, when it censors people, when it blocks political speech, that has no impact on elections?
People have choice of other communication channels with which.
Not if they don't hear information. If you don't think you have the power to influence elections, why do you block anything?
Well, we have policies that are focused on making sure that more voices on the platform are possible. We see a lot of abuse and harassment, which ends up silencing people and having them leave from the platform.
All right, Mr. Dorsey, I find your opening questions, your opening answers absurd on their face. Let's talk about the last 2 weeks in particular.
Yeah, and it is absurd on its face. It is absurd on its face.
Wow.
Of course, Twitter has the ability, all these platforms have the ability to influence elections. Of course they do. Of course they do. I got proof. I have 100% proof, just can't be denied. It happened to us. There was an election situation happening in the Republic, and it had to do with the Eighth Amendment. We were serving the Irish church out there, working together with them, trying to help. We were trying to pour money into this to help the church to know what's going on and how to fight against the issue of abortion and the decriminalization of abortion in the Republic. And the platforms, more than one, killed us to protect those who wanted to legalize child sacrifice in the Republic.
I mean, they literally, because we saw after the fact, there was some documents uncovered from somebody, and they literally blocked all pro-life social media coming from the U.S. into Ireland.
That's right. Oh yeah, no, that was the other thing. I didn't even mention that.
Yeah.
We were not allowed to market our videos outside of the United States of America. So we wanted to help the church in Ireland, but we couldn't market our videos to Ireland. They were blocked and locked out. The only way that anybody could have seen it in Ireland if it was organically seen. In other words, they were in Ireland, they were searching for our content, and then they in Ireland shared it from there. We could have no ability to speak in. So when someone says, yeah, we don't have any ability to influence elections, that's absurd. That's absolutely undeniably absurd. So any more comments on that, Luke?
I don't think so.
All right, so I want to at least, how much time do we have today? I know we're going for a short show today. So I want to talk now about the presidential election. So we are just days away from the presidential election. I know it's tense for everybody. Luke and I have been talking a lot about this. Pastor James, Zach, we had all been talking about the fact that, look, I think we need to just accept the fact that no matter what happens on November 3rd, we can have some difficult days ahead.
Yeah.
My suspicion is, and I'm not trying to speak as a prophet here and like to predict the future, but my suspicion is that if Trump wins, we've already seen a demonstration of Antifa and those on the radical left, the communists, the Marxists. We've already seen that they're willing to burn down their own cities and also other people's cities and be bussed in and all the rest. And so they're willing to riot and to loot and to destroy and to set things on fire. And so my assumption is that if Trump wins, we're probably in for a couple of weeks of things like that.
Oh yeah, I think this is worship, right? It's really a battle for worship, and so if the left loses again, they're gonna lose their minds completely. So,
well, it's interesting too because I told you this when I was on my way in today. Trump was doing a live a rally, and then also Biden was doing a rally. And so I'm on my way in, and I got to stop a few times, and so I would look at my different things, and I was checking the live streams. You guys might be interested in this. Some of you guys probably already know this. I was checking the different live streams from the platforms, whether it was CNBC or whether it was Fox or whether it was MSNBC or PBS or NPR, whatever the case may be. I'm looking at the live stream from Trump, and we're talking like 86,000 watching live, 150,000 people watching live. I mean, you get some big numbers.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Significant, yeah.
Guys, we have 250,000 subscribers just about on our channel, and we've never had 100,000 people watching live. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so on all the platforms, it was each individual platform was like a lot of people, tens of thousands, 100,000 people. So then I go look at the Biden rallies that are happening live right now at the same time, and I looked at all the major platforms. And guys, I'm not telling tales out of the schoolyard. It was 350 people watching, 400 some odd people watching, 200 people watching live, and I was like, that's interesting.
I mean, Biden had a rally here. What was it, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? And literally no one came.
No one showed up. So I find it peculiar when people talk about this being somewhat of a close race or whatever the case may be. I find that strange. Because I think when you look at these platforms, this is the public square. Look, this is the public square right here. When you talk about CNN and all the rest, like back in the 80s when I was growing up and when you were growing up, like that's where people went to get their information. Like what they said was kind of law. I mean, you just trusted their journalism because there wasn't a lot of ability to communicate. There wasn't ability to communicate like this, right? So the people are in the public square on this. Like they're watching what they want to watch, their platforms. And when you look at it, you're like, goodness gracious, you got a lot of people watching these Trump rallies. You got full rallies and all the rest. And Biden, he's got like 10 cars parked in front of him, like honking their horns and all the rest. You got like 400 people watching live. Now, I know that as he gets on, more people start to pick up and watch. But I'm telling you, I'm just like, wow, how are you saying this is anywhere near close? But guys, you know, there's a lot to face in the world we're in today. I mean, we've got to, this is not conspiracy theory. It's just the way things are, and we have the ear of a lot of the most important legislators in the state of Arizona right now, and they're telling us, they're like, no, you need to understand, like, there's a real fear here about the election being stolen. They have evidence, they have proof of people manipulating ballots, throwing ballots away, all the rest. So my thinking is, like, I don't think this is a numbers thing. I think it's a fraud thing in terms of how close it gets to being even Steven. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it just seems the numbers are just way, way off.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I'm like just trying to trust God, and like I'm nervous just because I think no matter what, it's going to get crazy. So
yeah.
But I'm really nervous because if Biden wins, then
communism.
Then communism. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and so
kind of sucks.
The issue for us, of course, is that Christ is ruling on his throne. He's king. And so I guess when Luke and I look at the landscape and say, okay, you know, Biden gets elected, which is really Harris being president.
Right.
If that's the administration, then we look at it in terms of, well, we've got a significant fight ahead of us. We got to get our hands dirty, and it's going to be a lot of prophetic witness against the culture and against these wicked systems of government and injustice and all the rest. It's not a matter of like, oh no, woe is us and the world is ending. No, it's a matter of like, well, this is the stage of history for the church in the West, where we've got to rise up and start being bold. And of course, it's a humble boldness, but it's boldness with the word of God, and it's confronting these wicked institutions and calling these people out and resisting this stuff. One thing Doug Wilson said recently, it was in a message. He talked about loving neighbor requires you to be jealous for their liberty, right? So when we think today, people are talking about like, you know, you need to lock people down, close their businesses, put the face diaper on all the time, all the rest of that. You know, and people are like, you know, if you resist this, you're not loving your neighbor. And Doug made a good point. He's like, no, being jealous for my neighbor's liberty is me loving them.
That's a great point.
Hating my neighbor means I'm just going to yield to all of this. Christians need to be jealous for the liberty of their neighbor, because that is truly loving them, their liberty, protecting their liberty. So when we talk about the future and a possible or potential Biden-Harris administration, we're talking about it's time to fight. It's time to fight, and it's time to die, and whatever it takes to preach the gospel and to win this nation to Christ. And so I think that when you look at the landscape, I want to say, as a pastor, my main focus is bringing the good news of Christ into the culture. And I don't want that just to be a pithy slogan. I mean, in the public square, in the hard places, in the hard ways, bringing the witness of Christ against the issue of abortion, bringing the witness of Christ against the wickedness of government education, bringing the witness of Christ against the injustices that are taking place within police departments. I mean, no-knock warrants, when you talk about people can just stop and frisk people, start searching around with the assumption of their guilt. Like, we need to be a witness as Christians against that kind of wickedness in a culture. But it's comprehensive. The biblical worldview is comprehensive, and it's got to come with a boldness to it, and we need to make sure we stop stepping away from culture and get into the culture. I want to say that the fires that were ignited in the cities around America over the last couple of months are testimony to the lack of light from the church.
Absolutely.
In those cities. And so, but at the same time, we've got to be consistent. This is what bothers me, and I'd love to hear what you say about this, Luke. I struggle because I understand that the Democratic platform is wicked in many, many, many places, on so many levels. It is not just the issue of child sacrifice, although that is a premier issue. When you talk about the wickedness of their socialism, the wickedness of, when you look like someone like Kamala Harris or AOC, when you're talking about hardcore gangster communism on the way, it's wicked through and through. The system of government that they propose is something that is condemned by God's law through and through, and it's not just one issue. The whole entire thing belongs in the garbage. But we gotta be righteous about this and just be fair. Stop saying this is my team. I'm going to blind myself to all the things that are also evil over on this side. When you hear pro-life politicians that call themselves Republican saying, yeah, but rape, incest, life of the mother, I guess I'll fine with protecting those. Mm-hmm. Look, call it out as wickedness. Right. That's wicked. It's totally inconsistent. When you talk about, I'm pro-life, I want to protect the precious lives in the womb, if you don't see those pro-life politicians working to straight up criminalize abortion in the womb, then they're lying to themselves, possibly. Maybe they're self-deluded, sure. Or they're just lying for your money or your votes. They don't really care. And so we need to call out the inconsistencies of those who call themselves pro-life. But I also think that, and this is my concern here, is that we give a pass to the Republican Party in so many ways that the Christian church still needs to be a witness there. I understand that many Christians are a part of the Republican Party or associate with the Republican Party or want to vote for the Republican candidate. I understand. I'm there. Okay, you're like, yeah, this is probably the best choice we have right now. I'm gonna invest in this. I get all that, but you know what? It's time to also call out the Republican Party and say, look, if you call yourselves the party of the conservatives and the Christians, then what the heck are you doing still supporting income tax? Theft of property. Right. What are you still doing being a Republican legislator and advocating for property tax? Do you know that right now in the United States of America, because of the wickedness that has sort of been all-encompassing, you will never own your property in this country. You can pay for it, the house. You can pay for the land. You can pay for everything on it. You could pay for it in cash, right? And you still don't own it.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because you're still paying rent to the government permanently via property taxes. And what happens if you don't pay those property taxes?
They take it.
They take it. They take the stuff. They take your money. They will force you through coercive taxation to make sure that you're paying them rent for that property. You can't own anything in this country. And the wickedness of when you die, the government goes, hold on, before your family and your descendants, righteous person leaves money for their descendants, right? So that's loving your family. But the government goes, before you can give it to your firstborn, the government's now the firstborn. We want what's coming to us first. Well, what's coming to you? Well, your stuff. Who said it's your stuff? Well, we did. How? Well, we got black robes and fancy pens. That's how we did it. Well, I mean, look, a thief climbing over my wall and stealing my TV doesn't look any better wearing a judge's robe. It's not like, the thief climbs over if he's all ratty and, covered in dirt, like that's not allowed. But as long as he's wearing, his judicial apparel, then, we'll go ahead and take the TV. It's still theft.
Right.
So when we talk about being Christians and addressing these issues in government, we need to be consistent by even pointing out the injustices within the party that we most closely align with. So go ahead, Luke. That's my main concern, is consistency.
Yeah, well, I think... obviously we've been talking and thinking a lot about this for a while now, and this election isn't the end all be all of things. Obviously God's in control and sovereign over whatever happens, and we've discussed how I think Trump winning before was strangely enough a blessing from God, and despite our nation deserving to be burnt to the ground, he blessed us and allowed us to have another 4 years, and so that could happen again.
Yeah,
if Trump wins, it would honestly be a blessing to our nation, even though we don't deserve it, even though we deserve Biden and Harris, even though we deserve with the blood shed on our hands, we deserve to be completely destroyed. And so you're looking at God's judgment, and And I've been saying this a lot. I really think that God's preparing his church for a time of reformation, and repentance is going to be necessary. But I think he's shrinking his army. He's building another Gideon's army. You talk about pastors. That's been a huge burden of mine the last 6 months or so, is just since COVID hit, is just seeing so many pastors just give in and give up and
yield immediately
and quit and like not even try to fight. And like you were talking before the show, guys that are reformed saying that we need to keep in mind climate change in this vote. It's like, goodness gracious.
Yeah, what kind of a buffoon says something like that?
But that's where we're at. And so I really feel like God's shrinking his army, and I've said this, in Gideon's army there was 300 men. God won that battle with 300 men. It's like, do we have 300 faithful pastors in our nation right now?
You bet we do.
But my point is
they're there, but they got to fight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think regardless, that's what we're up against. So I think it's going to be hard, but it's going to be a time of reformation, a time of victory, but it may really suck.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah, I know we talked about that. We're hopeful for 4 more years of mercy from God and grace.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
I want 4 more years of mercy from God, so that we can continue to work. And we're so close in so many places right now to criminalize abortion.
Right.
In the state of Arizona, we're going to be dropping a bill to criminalize abortion. All that's taking place right now. We have it happening other places. I won't mention it.
A number of states, yeah.
I won't mention it at the moment right now, but we are getting to a place where we can really dramatically impact, and we're getting close. I'm asking God for mercy for our nation so that we can work in these areas to bring justice for his glory. And it is a concern if Biden becomes president, if Harris is president, which is really the reality is, she's going to be president.
Yeah.
And if that's how it takes place,
he's straight up weakened at Biden's right now. They're just propping him up.
I know.
Strings attached.
Yeah,
to
and
him.
it's crazy too because it's not just an accusation and a pejorative and a jab to say that Harris is the most radical left senator.
Yeah.
There are other organizations that aren't the bastion of Republican thinking and conservative thinking that have said she's the most radical left senator. She's straight up gangster communism.
Yeah.
That's where it will lead to. And so I just want 4 more years of mercy. If that's what we can have, and just begging God for the mercy. I know, like you said, we do not deserve the mercy, but I'm hopeful for it because I want to continue to preach the gospel in the context where there's I don't want to be like the Chinese church right now, who are just straight underground.
Right, because that's where we're headed.
And that's where you're going to head. Look, here's the thing. You mentioned this buffoon that was trying to say, it's not just abortion. Christians need to think about considering voting for maybe another party on the issue of climate change. It's we're in trouble. We're in trouble because if you're a pastor over a church and you think look, it's abortion and climate change, and maybe you can yield on the abortion thing because the climate really matters over here in this Democratic Party, as wicked as it is and communist as it is, we can still vote for them so we can save the environment. I'm well, I think that your understanding of climate change and how to save the environment is really off. And as a post-millennialist, I'm big on causing God's creation to flourish.
Yeah,
so don't get us wrong on that. But all the stuff that people point to in terms of who's that chick that girl from Sweden? She's from Sweden.
Greta Van Dingleberry.
She just doesn't seem to understand that everything she uses to communicate, everything she does every single day, it requires the very things she says we need to do away with.
Right.
And it's just there's no connection point.
Right.
You talk about doing away with fossil fuels and all the rest. It's you understand how it's going to impact medicine, because that stuff's used in medicine.
Yeah.
So we're going back to the Stone Ages now. Is that what you really want? She doesn't even understand. You can't do that.
Right.
And even some of the things that she suggests, there's good scientific evidence that it causes more damage to the environment and to the planet and to the animal kingdom than what we're doing now. So I'm all for preserving and protecting God's created order here and the planet, making it flourish and spreading a garden. But the way that some of these people want to do it is just not scientific. It's purely political.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's even in the last presidential debate, it was right at the very end when Biden said he's going to eliminate the oil industry, which talking about shooting yourself in the foot.
That was.
But it in the same breath, basically, it's him saying he wants to put up more plexiglass for COVID and they're like, hey, dum-dum, like, you realize that plexiglass is made from oil, so it just
they don't know. There's no connections made with these people. It's like it's like literally giving the authority to rule the nation to a bunch of first and second graders. And I don't mean that to just be nasty. I mean legitimately. First and second graders get emotional. They get narrow-minded and focused on only with tunnel vision on one thing, and they don't think about consequences. Like, you ever seen a kid that's like in first or second grade on the playground, like hanging off? So you're like, well, that's not going to go well for you. You're not thinking 5 steps ahead. Like, you're not thinking about what that's going to lead to. Same thing with with Augustine. Like, I mean, this morning Candy goes, hey, can you watch him for a second? I'll go get his bottle. I was like, sure. So he's on bed. I'm trying to play with him. And he wants to go and be with his mom. And so he just decides he's just going to start crawling and just jump off the bed head first. I'm like, this is how you know evolution isn't true. This is how you know evolution isn't true. Just watch a baby, and evolution isn't true. Like, you have parents from the beginning that have been protecting the lives of their children who just go, I'm going to go find my mom, so I'll just drop head first onto my neck onto the floor. Like, no concept. These people are like children in that they see something they want, they get excited about an idea, and they don't think 5 steps ahead of themselves.
Right.
And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It's the same kind of... I'm going to play some of this right now. This is some highlights from the presidential debate. I can only do it short periods at a time because right now YouTube's changed their situation where if you play for more than 25 or 30 seconds, they'll shut you down and copyright you. So I'm going to just do little jumps here. So forgive me for having to do that.
We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have... Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I was in the hospital.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds like something Dr. Evil would have come up with. Operation Warp Speed.
Operation Warp Speed.
H.
Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed. Well, it actually sounds like something Dr. Evil would do when you have the military distributing vaccines. Because that could go a bad way. I mean, if you say the military is going to distribute vaccines,
right.
what kind of distribution are we talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Are we talking about
through a rifle?
Are we talking about mandatory distribution of a vaccine by the military?
Oh, man.
That sounds scary. I'm not alleging that that's the case, but I'd like to know some more information regarding these vaccines and just how safe they are, how long they've been tested for. I mean, if you think about it, look, you have one of like the giants of the Christian faith, Jonathan Edwards. Who has had a mind like Jonathan Edwards in American history? I don't know. Have we had anybody that can think like that man?
Greg Bonson.
Well, Bonson, yeah. I mean, but if you read Edwards, it's like, wow, what kind of mind? This is crazy. So he died through getting a shot. You have a lot of people that have been damaged. So when someone says, hey, Operation, stick it to you, whatever it is, like, we're just going to have the military come and drop. It's like I have questions. Can I ask some questions about that? And that really troubles me in regard to liberty and those sorts of things. Maybe it'll just be an all voluntary thing where people are just, the military is going to be available to give vaccines to people who are asking for it, want it. Oh, okay, I'm all for personal liberty and all the rest, but I have questions.
Well, I think what's going to happen because, if Biden wins, I think they're going to probably try to enforce vaccinations because they don't care if it causes civil war, right? But I think
it will.
And it will. If Trump wins, I don't think that they're going to force it, but I think what we're probably going to see is that we're going to be restricted in what we can do if you don't have a vaccination.
I mean, some places are suggesting that they won't let you into their state.
Yeah, exactly.
And a good point. Yeah, will you be able to get on a flight if you don't show your COVID vaccination?
Yeah.
And businesses. I mean, some people are worried that their employers are going to fire them if they're not vaccinated. I mean, there's some stuff ahead that we need to be concerned about for sure.
Hospital, I had it. And I got better, and now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that.
What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. It's
just political talking points.
Yeah.
It's just political talking points. And I think this whole issue with COVID-19 in the midst of this election, of course, so much of the election has been about this. I think Trump definitely scores some solid points against Biden when he talks about the fact, like, look, you mocked me for wanting to shut down the country and to block China. You called me names about it early on, but I made the move first. I think Trump scores a big knockout blow on that, and I don't see Biden responding with anything coherent. But when you talk about the issue of coronavirus, can we just be honest here? I mean, as deadly as this thing can be, the numbers have been pretty consistent from the start of this thing until where we're at now. We made decisions as pastors based upon what we saw in March. As numbers, and we said, look, we can't consistently do this. We can't close down because the government tells us with this mortality rate that you're going to shut down worship. We're going to close down businesses and destroy the economy. We said we can't do it because the flu will be here soon.
Especially in Arizona.
Yeah, it's going to be here. And are we going to be consistent and shut down the economy and destroy everyone's lives and shut down worship because of the flu?
Right.
We're going to do that? And so when this guy talks about it's a platform, let's be honest, for the radical left and these Democrats, their platform, I think it's such a bad move. Their platform has become about COVID, like the virtue signaling of the masks. The fact that, like, when you see Biden's ads now coming up constantly in your feed, it's always Harris and Biden, like they're like social distance from one another, and they're wearing their masks. Because that becomes like a symbol for them, like we're the party that has the masks.
Maybe she just doesn't want them blowing on her.
Or sniffing her. So yeah, I mean, it's become like his major platform thing. And my question is, how effective is that in a country that has generally cherished liberty? I'm not saying everyone loves it like they need to, like they used to in this country. I'm saying that generally cherished liberty. Do you really want your platform to be about shut down, stay at home, put your mask on, take away liberties? It seems like a weird move to me, but that's what they campaign on. I mean, like, the thing is, like, today's thing I told you about, when they were doing a live stream, it was like Trump has his rally, and it's just like thousands of people, like, all together. Some have masks on, but then Biden's still holding these rallies where it's like people still parked in their cars in the parking lot and just honking their horns, and it's like, is that really effective for you guys? You think that the populace really wants to go that direction for, like, more shutdowns and wear the face diaper all the time? Oh, did I tell you the story happened to me at Cold Stone?
No.
Okay, I'm just gonna do it fast.
No.
Going to Cold Stone, take my kids late at night. I go in. Of course, we don't have masks on because I don't need to answer that. So we go in, and the two employees, there's no one else in the store except the two employees. They have their masks on. And so she says to me, excuse me, sir, can you put your mask on? And I said, no, we're taking the medical exemption. Because that's what the order says.
Right.
You can take the medical exemption. And I mean it. There are too many dramatic health problems that can be created by forcing me and my family to wear this mask all the time. And not going to do it. It makes me dizzy. I've gotten headaches. I felt like I'm going to pass out. My son has asthma. My wife struggles to breathe through them. I'm not damaging my family's health. And so I'm taking the medical exemption because that's what the order says. Medical exemption, religious exemption. So I very calmly, graciously say to this, like, 19 or 20-year-old woman, very respectful. I said, are you doing this because of the order? And she said, yes, you have to have a mask on. I said, okay, so you're following the order. She said, yeah. I said, okay, can I show you the order so you can see that it says that if I have a medical exemption, if I take that, I can not wear it? And she goes, I don't know about all that, but you have to wear your mask. I said, okay. I said, but are you trying to follow the order? She said, yes. I said, but the order says if I have a medical exemption, I don't have to wear it. And she goes, you have to wear it or I'm not serving you. And I said, okay, well, I want you to know, I live down the street. We've come here often. I'll never come again. And she said, that's fine. Don't come back. Wow. I said, okay, all right. So check it out. I turn around. My family leaves. I walk towards the door, and then I turn around and look. No joke. I got a picture I'll show you. No joke. Her and the girl both have their mask pulled under their chin, and they're standing there right next to each other. I said, excuse me. I said, don't you need to put your mask on? And she goes, we don't have to.
What?
And so I said, you don't have to, but I do? And she goes, no, we don't have to. And I said, don't you think that's a little hypocritical? And she goes, like that. So it's just a big charade. It's just a big charade for people. I mean, it's not about safety. It's not about health. It's a virtue signal.
It's absolutely that.
It's a control thing. And here's the thing. Look, I did see a good meme. It's probably my favorite response when someone says the mask issue. Yeah, I like to just say this. By the way, if in your conscience you want to wear the mask to glorify God and to love your neighbor because you think it's going to do something, then I'm going to say praise God. I think what you're doing is great because your heart's in the right place. But for the person who says with their mask on, where's your mask? Somebody it said, tell you what, I'll pretend like your mask works, and you can pretend I'm wearing mine.
I love it.
That's a good one.
I love it.
All right, a little bit more of this.
Make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe. He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. What I would say is I'm going to...
Oh, goodness.
This is when Trump's like, oh, gosh. He just sounds so fake and political.
I thought, of course, that's just political, just like you got someone, empty table, empty chair. It's like, oh, goodness gracious. Listen, we can't destroy the world. We can't destroy the world because of a virus that mostly kills a select class or group of people that has a survival rate of over 99%. Now watch this. It shows you how foolish this man is. He's been living his life, his whole life, every year dealing with communicable viruses that are coming in that he has just learned to live with. Mm-hmm. He functioned, he did politics, he had jobs, he had a family, he lived, he moved, he did what he did in the world, and he, learned to live with it.
Yeah.
Well, don't you know there was the swine flu? Don't you know there was H1N1? Don't you know that annually there's the flu issue that does kill people every single year? And you say, well, why aren't you worried about this? Why aren't you staying home all your whole life? Well, you just got to learn to live with it.
Yeah.
Right? So when Trump or anybody like myself says, look, we got to deal with this as responsible people and not destroy the world because of this thing, you got to learn to live with it. That's because that's what we do every year. In 2019, everybody understood that. Well, why isn't everybody just hiding underground with all these annual diseases that kill people? Everybody would say, it's just the world we live in, baby. Yeah. You got to learn to live with it. Now it's a political talking point. He says we just got to learn to live with it. Yeah, because we got to feed our children.
Right.
Biden's not, so people, this is what gets me about these politicians. They're not overly concerned. Why? Because they're still getting paid.
Yep.
So when you have like the mayor of Phoenix, Kate, saying, everyone stay home, wear your mask, stay home, keep your business closed down. That's very easy for you to say, Kate, because you're still getting paid. Stay home, save lives. I'm literally watching my family die of starvation. Like I can't feed my family. My business is closed. I don't know how to take care of my family. Stay home to save lives. What about their lives?
Yeah.
And so when people say as politicians Newsom and all the rest, we're going to hold all this back, we're going to stop this, we're going to stop industry, we're going to close you down, all the rest, it's very easy for you to say when you've been stealing money from the public for your paycheck to continue to get paid yourself through a over 99% survivable virus. I think all of us know something about this is not computing. Something's not working. What's the underlying thing that's trying to be pulled off here when you live like that? Tell the communities to die while you're still getting paid. It's definitely questionable. So I think we're done. Or can we go a little more?
Yeah, we can go a little more.
Okay, here we go. A little more.
Shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part.
We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why.
His ineptitude that caused the country to shut down. Can we all look at the underlying presuppositions that are going on here? Biden's going, on the one hand, you should have done more, you should have shut down more, you should have shown more concern. And then he says it's his ineptitude that caused this. What do you mean by that? He was shutting down. The whole country was shutting down. Businesses were dying. So the economy died because of the shutdown. Biden wants to do more shutdown, emphasize that. This man can't decide which world he wants to live in. We want to cause the economy to flourish. We want everyone to get back to work. We want to do this. But it's he needs to shut down more, needed to shut down more. It's to destroy the world even more. Like, what do you want? What do you want?
They want total government control.
Total government control. That's right.
We have so many cases. Someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia.
The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world.
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly.
Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to release your taxes. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani.
So this issue with the taxes, this kills me. I think that if you would have told our founders, if you could go back into time and sit down with them and say, hey, there's going to be a presidential debate where one of the presidential candidates is actually going to chastise the other for not releasing the number that the government took from them via income tax. They'd be like, what's an income tax? Oh, that's like whatever you earn, the government takes a portion of it. They'd be like, off of what I earn? Right. They just come and you have to pay a certain percentage of everything you earn.
Right.
They'd have been like, have you started shooting yet? Right? Like, but now you have a presidential candidate who's actually saying, why aren't you showing the world how much the government has taken of your property? And he's using it as a political weapon. Like, I show everybody what the government's taken from me. It's like, okay, here's the deal. Like, we should be able to say, look, if President Trump shows a tax return where he's made $1 billion of personal income and he only paid the IRS $25, I think everybody should be like, well done. Well,
how'd you get away with it?
Well done. And he's like, yeah, I use all these tax codes. I did it, and I helped to pay more employees, and I put more money into the businesses to bless the economy and to all these different things. We'd probably be like, well done, very well done. You found a way to make sure that private property was protected. You blessed the world with more income. Because here's the thing, guys. Listen, here's the thing. More money going into these businesses means more money being paid to employees.
Yep.
More money being paid to employees means more money going to take care of children and families. Mm-hmm. More money going to employees means more money going back into the economy to feed other businesses, which are paying their employees. So you see, here's the deal. When you allow people to have liberty and to own their own property, then you have the ability to actually cause society to flourish, to hand down wealth to your descendants and all the rest. And somebody might say, and maybe we can end on these points. Somebody might say, then how will you fund the government? I would say it's easy, because the government, according to God, has two primary responsibilities. One, punish the wicked.
Yep.
So bring justice to victims. So you've got court situations, you've got capturing criminals and making sure that there's justice and that you punish the wicked. It's also about protecting the righteous. So somebody tries to invade America, we want a government that's going to say, we're going to fight. We want to be able to fight against people who try to hurt us, destroy us. So protect the righteous, punish the wicked. And you know what's not in that sort of lineup there? I told you two things. What's not in there is government education. What's not in there is all these government programs. Yeah. What's not in there is the government in control of the adoption situation in America. What's not in there is all of the other things. So how do you fund things like necessary forms of government? Through voluntary taxation. Voluntary taxation. That's not through coercion. Here's the deal. If you had a society that had their own property and their own money, they have more money to give away to these programs, to these things. If somebody says, how's that even possible? Did you ever notice that, like, not far back in this last generation, most of the hospitals that you went to were called things like Baptist Hospital, Presbyterian Hospital, St. Luke's, St. Mary's. Why do you think that is? Because it's the Christian worldview that gave the world all these great, amazing hospitals. And it was done charitably, and it was done in a way where it still made money, and it was done in a way to care for people, and it was done in a way where there wasn't the kind of government control that screwed up the pricing and all the rest. And so you do have ways that you can build highways through even businesses paying to build portions of highways and advertise their company on that portion of the highway. You have ways where the communities are able to do things voluntarily. So, again, when you look at a situation we're in right now where everyone's like, I want to know why Trump paid so little taxes. I want to say, man, good on him to be able to continue to bless other people with income and jobs and more business opportunities. That's an amazing thing. And so there's lots we could talk about, but in terms of thinking of an overarching perspective, I think there's way more we need to talk about as Christians in confronting the culture and these systems of injustice with the law of God. Any last words, Pastor Luke?
Well, depending on how things go, Lord willing, this is not our last show.
Yeah, actually, hang on. We got a plan for next week. You're going to enjoy next week's show. It's right up your alley in terms of law of God stuff.
Yeah.
Are we going to? No, 2 weeks. We're going to do that one.
Next week we'll talk about the election.
We have a plan next week for Thursday to talk about the election. Hopefully, we're not having to come in, dodging bullets and tear gas and all the rest. And so I want to thank you guys all so much for loving us and supporting us and joining us. We're grateful for you all. And let's be prayerful for our nation.
Yes.
Be prayerful for the witness of the church in our nation right now. The ultimate goal is the spread of the gospel.
Amen.
Let's bring our nation to the obedience of Christ. Thank you all for watching. ApologiaStudios.com is where you guys go to support us. Sign up for all access. Don't forget to go to endabortionnow.com and get all the free training and free resources to start saving lives, along with hundreds and hundreds of other churches across the globe. That's Luke the Bear.
Peace out.
I'm Jeff Coleman, the Ninja. Next week.